We recently completed this client build for a music services company, and we had to implement quite a lot of interesting solutions regarding the videos on the site because there was such a large quantity of them, and typically that will really hinder the performance of the site. And these guys still wanted the site to perform really well, be extremely fast and user-friendly on kind of all kinds of networks. So here's the site. As you can see, whenever you hover over an element, the background video will play. And this carries on for the 18 videos on the site. And then on top of that, hidden in a slider, we've got these iFrames. So whenever you click a specific portfolio piece, one of these long form Vimeo embeds will appear. But this is also an iframe, and it kind of suffers from the same problems as videos, where when the page loads, all of the iframes data will get downloaded regardless of if the user is going to interact with it when they land on the site or not. So it can make things extremely slow. So what we did to tackle this is implement a JavaScript library that lets us lazy load these videos only when the user either scrolls to them or hovers over this specific element or opens this specific iframe. So if we go here, here's the performance report for this site. As you see, it performs extremely well. 99% performance, 98% structure, whole page loading in 0.9 seconds. And if you come into the waterfall, which will show us exactly what's being loaded, so you see here's all the JavaScript, all the images, and so on. But if you go into video, you see there's actually nothing. So even though there's 18 videos on the site, when the user lands on it, their initial experience is not hindered by having so many videos there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into a clonable that I've built so that you can see how this is implemented. You can kind of copy and paste it into your own project, and you can see the different techniques we've used. Okay, so I'm going to break this into three main parts. The first is handling all the HTML. So we're going to first set this up on an iframe, and then we'll set it up on a video. The techniques are extremely similar, but doing it on an iframe will be easier at first because you probably already have one on your site, so you can test this out immediately. Then we'll implement the basic JavaScript that's required for this. It's one copy and pasted script and one line of code. You do not need to be a master programmer for this. And then we'll go over the edge cases and the techniques that you can use to add a little bit more functionality to the library. So going down and getting started, you see I've got this code embed here that's completely blacked out. So this is just a YouTube iframe that I grabbed, and I've already gone ahead and done the editing for it. So if we go ahead and undo this, you'll see that this is how it is. It's just a regular YouTube embed. And the way that we treat this so that it can run through the JavaScript library is to add data dash before this source attribute here. And then we also want to add the class. You can add this anywhere, but I like to add it at the beginning. Is equal to lazy. So the reason we're adding this class is because the library is going to, by default, select any element that has this lazy class on it. We can change this after, and I'll go through that in the third part. But for now, I always find it's best practice just to add this. You probably don't have a style called this anyway, so if you make a mistake, if you forget, or if somebody changes something, this will still work. As you see, it blacks out the iframe, meaning it's just not loading on the Webflow side, which is kind of exactly what we want. However, if we go here and take a look at the site, when you scroll down, you see that black gets filled in with the actual iframe. But this is not getting loaded when the user lands. It only gets loaded, as you see, when they get to it. And the same concepts apply identically to a video. So you can see here you've got your HTML video element, you've got your class is equal to lazy, you've got all your basic HTML video attributes, so you've got autoplay, plays in line, muted, you can add styles, width, height, etc. And then inside of the source here, you change from src to data-src, and that applies the exact same. Scroll down, and they all kick in. So the JavaScript implementation of this is extremely easy. If we go into the page settings here, you want to put this in the before closing body tag. You have this one script, which is the CDN import. So this is just importing the JavaScript library onto your Webflow project. And then you've got this new lazy load. So inside here, these are all the settings that you can use. Or these are some of the settings you can use. There's a lot more, but these are the three that we almost exclusively use and never have a need for the others. So elements_selector is just how do you want to identify which videos to lazy load. So this is the default .lazy, as in with the class of lazy, as you've already seen that we've been adding that to the HTML. So you could go without this, that's totally fine. Threshold is how far away from the bottom of the screen will the video start to load. So 0 is when the top of the video element hits the bottom of the screen, it will load. 100 is 100 pixels away from the bottom of the screen, it will load. So this should give you a buffer so that ideally the video just about loads when the user scrolls to it. By default, this is 300, so you can also have that removed. And then you've got this callback_loaded, which takes a function. It's a little bit more complex, but all this is when a video gets loaded. So a callback is another name for a function that runs inside of a function. So it's saying the function that runs when the video gets loaded is here. And we've just got lazy loaded the video, which is perfect. Again, this is optional. So you could actually just have this new lazy load and it will work with just the defaults. So now that we've covered really the basics, and to be truly honest with you, for 99% of use cases, that's more than enough. If you've got iFrames that are just on the site, they're not in a pop-up, they're not behind a button, then this is the perfect implementation. And you can stop the video right here. Now, I have gone ahead and set up 2 more examples in the clonable. The first one is to trigger them on an event listener. So the event listener is on mouse enter, i.e. whenever you hover over something. You see that it's actually exactly the same. The core is identical. New lazy load. That's all we're doing. So this extra is basically just using vanilla basic JavaScript to say, select these elements, add an event listener for whenever the mouse is over the element, select the video inside of it. This checks if the video has the class loaded, because the JavaScript library, once the video gets loaded, will just add the class of loaded to it. If it has the class of loaded, then just play it, because the video's already been loaded. If it doesn't, i.e. else, then we want to lazy load that video. So we'll do a new lazy load for the video that's being hovered right now. And then on mouse leave, we will just pause the video. So that's exactly the same as the stuff we've already gone over. It's just adding some of these vanilla JavaScript features on top of it, just to give it a little bit more functionality. And then we've got trigger on button click, which is basically the same. As you see, button, query selector, whatever that may be, by class, by ID, by attribute, however you want to do it. Add event listener, click, lazy load the videos on the site. So this could be on a pop-up. It's probably most likely on a pop-up, but I'm sure that there's an edge case where it might be something else. So that's basically however you would implement this kind of lazy loading onto your site. If it has a lot of iframes, it's absolutely worth doing and will save you a ton of download data and just massively improve your performance score. All right, if you enjoyed the video, thanks.